Hey everybody, welcome to Discussing Tabletop for March 2nd, 2019. As usual, joining me today, of course, is my ever so wonderful assistant and co-host, Joe.
Ah.
Yes. Anyway, so for our 104th episode, we have an interesting docket for you today, of course. Starting with, we have, of course, Modern Horizons announced from Maigc, which is a little different than the things they've been doing, and it's an extra set, and we want to talk about that and things like that. Ghosts of Saltmarsh has been announced for 5th edition of Dungeons & Dragons. Of course, 5th D&D has also put out a Artificer revised on Unearthed Arcana. Moving on from there, there's going to be Clue and Monopoly based on It. Like the movie It.
It's weird.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Yeah. Chiyo's Secret by Wizkids has been released. 2 more books for the Conan RPG. One based on cults and gods, and another one based on, like, ancient ruins you can explore in Iberia. And then, of course, Gloom of Thrones by Atlas, the people who do, well, Gloom, is announced it's going to be a Kickstarter that's coming soon. And then, of course, we have our normal segments, Deeper Discussion, Kickstarter Corner, Our Week in Tabletop, and finally, Consult the Table. So there seems to be a lot to talk about today. Why don't we start, of course, out with Modern Horizons. So, I think for Maigc, we've seen, like, what we call the Modern Master series, you know, in all of their forms, which have taken on the role of reprinting cards that the modern format of Maigc needs. That's sort of been their entire thing. And they've done a lot of these versions of them that tend to be more expensive for a while now. I think this is the first change, because this is coming in a couple of months, only 3 months, June 14th, and it's a 254 card set, of which 249 cards have not been in Modern. Now, they do say this is a mix of reprints and new cards. But consider that there's only 5 cards that have been printed since Mirrodin, which is where Modern started.
Right.
So, I mean, for the reprints, it's older than that. So I'm thinking, like, what the hell are they reprinting that is in the older stuff that they're saying, hey, now this is Modern legal? What the heck would they be adding in from the older stuff? I'm curious. And I think they show off at least, like, one new card with the Planeswalker version of Sarah, which is kind of neat.
Oh god, it's gross. Sarah but the Benevolent.
It gives you...
well, the -6 ability, and it starts at 4, and it has a +2 ability, so in 2 turns of having it out, you can get it.
And it's worship. Yeah, it's like the spell worship.
It's just like, that's powerful, because it's hard to get rid of emblems.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of ways.
There are some cards that get rid of counters, and an emblem count as a counter.
Yeah.
Off of players. Very limited of them, but there are some.
Now, granted, it's the worship ability, and worship, there's been always ways to get around with it. Anything that results in direct loss of life, anything that can cause you to get rid of your opponent's creatures, things like that. There are ways around the worship effect, so it isn't the most
life drain.
Yeah, life.
Yeah, not direct loss of life, because
no, because it prevents damage, not loss of life. Because remember, you have to remember that's a little trick about Maigc, that damage becomes loss of life. Loss of life is not
right,
damage.
That would be douche. Okay, you're right.
Yeah. So.
Well, you couldn't fireball someone to death.
No, you couldn't fireball them to death.
But you could drain their life.
Yeah, like black is a very good counter to that. Yes. Or you can fireball their creatures though, and then you could just kill them with whatever. You know.
Yeah, I mean the +2 ability isn't even that great. It's just your flyers get a +1/+1 until end of turn.
Yeah, and the -3 is nice, you get a Sarah's Angel, basically. I mean that's not bad, but she's
really only worth the -6.
Yeah, and even then, like, again, I used to play with the card worship a lot, but because of other problems with around it definitely was one that I stopped playing with as much. So it's like, I think it's neat that it's the worship ability, but it's not, and it's a very good, easy way to get it that's hard to get rid of. But
the thing is, also a planeswalker is good as a secondary life source.
Yeah, it's a distraction.
Yeah.
You know.
So it's like, hey, do you want me to get this emblem, or are you going to try to do something?
Yeah.
So, you know, it can be used in other ways other than just its abilities.
And the Cabal Therapist is kind of neat, where you can... These are the only two they showed off, where you can sacrifice a creature and name a card, and then the person reveals their hand, and they have to discard that card. I mean, like, the first time you name it, you can name Jack Diddley, and get an idea of what their hands is, and then be able to, like...
It could be a good card to have in a black and blue deck, though.
That's true. Where you could even do something like telepathy, where you can see an opponent's hand and be like,
"Oh, look, I see your hand. I'm going to call that card."
Yeah,
That's when it's good.
Yeah, it's not a bad card. You know, granted, you have to sacrifice a creature, but it's black. You can create creature tokens or something, or bring stuff back. There's a lot of ways to make that a very useful card. So, but anyway, that's what they were showing off. We don't know a lot about it. Now, it is a more expensive set again. It's $7, which is back around the price of the like original Modern Masters and stuff like that, which I guess is better, but I feel like...
Oh god, horrible joke.
What?
Previews start at the end of May, so hold on tight. Change is on the horizon. It's Modern Horizons.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Change is on the horizon. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, the thing is, I feel like they're saying Magic Online price will be $6.99. I'm curious what the local game store prices will be. Because this is new cards. Will they push it high? Or will they push it low?
Remember, there's no MSRP anymore.
Yeah. So it's hard to say what it's going to be in stores. Like, the Magic Online price, I think, reflects a little bit of the price they would sold it in stores. And I feel like the problem with this one is, if you wanted to, you could have done a little more expensive. But I feel like there's a big difference between 5, 6, and 7, you know? Putting it all the way up at 7, when a normal Magic pack is like $4. It's like $4 if you're just buying it individually in most stores. You can usually get good deals in various places. We're not talking about that. Just like, if I'm going to go somewhere, $4 was kind of what you pick it up for. I would have put this at 5 or 6 if you want to do it with it, because like putting it at 7 is automatically putting it that these cards, you're like, they're going to be expensive cards. Well, what if they aren't? What if there's no actual value to what you're putting out here? You know, the only thing I can think of is maybe if some of the reprints they're doing were really good reprints that weren't Modern, and now you're making a Modern, maybe then. I'm curious as to what reprints they're doing. I think that's going to be, like, the selling point for me thinking this is valuable. Like, currently I just look at it and I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't get a lot of these Modern Master sets anyway, just because they are too expensive for my tastes.
Right.
But it's not like I haven't collected some of them, but I don't know.
No, I understand that. They are expensive.
Yeah. I feel like it's not... With the last debacle that they had where they overcharged it to an extreme, you know, at least they brought it back down to what it was, you know? But...
yeah.
I feel like Modern is this, like, weird location of things, because I've heard people talk about Modern and how, like, there's a number of decks which tend to be very powerful in Modern, and even if like new ones have replaced it, they still have like legacy of these are still really good in Modern, even with like newer cards coming into the format. And I think that's the problem, is like breaking into that with other stuff. It's just, I don't know. I'm just curious as to how this is going to end up and how it's going to look. It's and again, this is another one that we're 4 months out and we're hearing about it now.
Yeah.
They just aren't doing their announcements very high ahead of time. I'm just curious about how it's going to end up. And how many cards are new, too. That's another thing, too, is they're specifically making cards which are new, that aren't standard legal, that are going to be modern legal, which is very weird, too.
Right.
Yeah, Magic's going to take an interesting direction. Like...
Yeah.
I guess since you do a lot more with playing Magic online with Arena and stuff, have you dived away from Standard and more into Modern, at least in attempting it?
I pretty much just...
You've done out of
I've
both
done
of us,
what
you've done the most,
I do
yeah.
what they... Yeah, but the thing is, it's like when you're going into a game, it doesn't. You're not even normally choosing. You're going to play a standard or modern. And just play what.
Yeah, I think Arena is heavier focus on standard currently.
Yeah, I think so.
And I think like when they're talking about the Magic Online, they might be talking about like old Magic Online, which is in a weird location that it still exists yet doesn't exist or something. So I guess that might be the place where Modern goes, though. That actually might be something that they're going to do, because would feel more legacy. That maybe they're going to make Online be for like the alternate formats, and Arena stick to Standard.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, they do have some alternate formats.
Yeah.
On here, but not much. And it's normally like the tournament formats.
Well, like you were saying, like Pauper, which is technically a format, but it's like a weird format that people talk about and play. It's just not one of the forefront ones, because it's a common deck. Can you do uncommons in Pauper? I can't remember. I think it's just commons, right?
No, Pauper is just common.
Yeah, I thought so. I just want to make sure my brain was on the right call.
Yeah, it's just common.
Which, again, not to say there aren't some really good commons that you can build a really cool Pauper deck, but still.
No, it just makes it more difficult, definitely.
Yeah, and that's a format that's like a sub format almost, because it's not based on sets in the same way. So I could say we're in Magic Arena, because there's not that many sets overall. They only go back so far. Doing a Pauper with that is just doing standard Pauper, or the modern Pauper about what they've released with it.
Right.
But anyway, so Magic Horizons, it's been announced. I think it's another one just like the War of the Spark. It's one I feel like I really want to watch and see where it goes, because I don't know about it, but maybe it'll be great. Maybe it won't be. We're going to have to wait and see, and hope that Wizards doesn't do something stupid. Oh, wait, Wizards. Who knows? Well, if I'm saying, oh, wait, Steve Jackson Games, then I know it would be doing something stupid. When I say, oh, wait, Wizards, it's a crapshoot. Wizards is a crapshoot. Anyway.
No, yeah.
So, I did want to talk a little bit about some Dungeons & Dragons here. And I want to talk about, first off, Ghost of Saltmarsh. Now, Ghost of Saltmarsh is actually another, I guess, compilation of old first edition adventures reprinted and updated for 5th edition. But they're all nautical-themed ones, which I think this is a very interesting way of taking about it, because this is something we hadn't seen a lot of up until now. It's coming out in May, so it's not that far away. It's like two and a half months away. And I guess with a product like this, which is updating stuff, you don't really need that far ahead. Like when we're talking about your Dungeon of the Mad Mage, you want to throw that out in advance and get a lot more hype for it. This one, it's sort of like, hey, cool, we're doing something that, you know, will probably be enjoyed by our modern audience, but those old fogies that might have remembered these adventures, hey, check them out. And I think the big thing I was going to say about it is, like, having themes to these is actually not I don't think a bad idea. I think that's actually a really smart idea about it. So they've set up the story into kind of a seafaring campaign that'll take you for levels 1 through 12, or you can pull out sections and place it into an ongoing campaign in any setting. So that's why they've arranged it in a very interesting way, that they've taken like popular classic adventures and made like almost like a connecting adventure line with them.
Right.
And because there's 7 of them. And then give some like magic items, monsters, ship-to-ship combat, and the appendices, things like that. I guess there was a Saltmarsh series in the classic D&D adventures, and these might be the actual series because I don't know a lot about the sinister secrets of Saltmarsh.
Yeah, neither do I, honestly.
Yeah. Because it was originally a module that was in 81, so it's pretty old for one of those things. It was set in Greyhawk, so that's one of those things that I guess, you know, they don't talk about it. The original module was divided into 2, with the Haunted House and the Ghost Sea. And I'm guessing, like, it's the Sinister Secret Saltmarsh, it's the first one. The next 2 modules, Danger at Dunwanderer and the Final Enemy, continued from that. I'm not sure if Savage Operation continued after that. They don't say it did. So it's like those first 3 were led together.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. Salvage Operation. Salvage operate. I can spell today. Yeah, I don't know about salvage operation. They talk about it and like I can't find it very easily. So, like the rest of the other 4, I'm not. I'd have to look them up individually. But the first 3 were definitely the part of the original series. So, I mean, it's a cool thing. I'm glad to see more of these. I'm glad to see more, like, I guess you can call them adventure compilations, because...
Yeah, I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I think it's a little better than, like, publishing them individually, too, anyway, because you consider, like, truthfully speaking, Pathfinder. If they had 7 adventures, they'd publish them from at least $10 a piece. You know, because which doesn't sound awful, and it isn't an awful thing. You know, that's not bad. For an adventure, like $10, maybe $15, depending on the size of it, not bad. For this, these are published adventures that, there's 7 of them, and it's $50. I feel like I'm getting more value this way. Granted, it's like, yes, these are reprints, but they're updated reprints.
Yeah, but I mean, like, Tomb of Annihilation.
Yeah, it's a reprint, and what is it? Oh, I'm forgetting it all. The previous compilation that they did. Which,
oh god, I'm actually possibly running that one too at some point, and I can't think of the name of it now.
Yes, Tales from the Yawning Portal.
Yes, Tales from the Yawning Portal.
Yeah, Tales from the Yawning Portal. That one was definitely also really interesting. You know, that they had like a compilation series.
And it's nice because it actually did take it. That one took you all the way up to level 20 too.
Yeah, if you kind of put them in a row. And that was another 7 adventure series. And I think that's actually pretty good that they can like take what they've had before and redo it. And I think that's actually not a bad idea, because they do have a lot of great classics and great adventures. That
they have some classic adventures that people would love to, you know, people want to be able to redo those in the newer edition, but don't probably want to spend the time sitting there trying to convert them themselves.
I'm sure someone somewhere has done that, but it's like, it's also, you have to find someone that's willing to do that, and then if we're talking in like the third party stuff, find someone that's willing to do that, and then willing to put it up somewhere that people could find it. I mean, that's the chances become very slim.
I'm saying your average DM really doesn't want to spend the time.
Oh God, no, not
restructuring an entire adventure path.
Oh God, especially from 1st to 5th. Like, if we're talking about like 3.5, 4th, something like that, that's a lot easier. That's fewer steps. But 1st, all the way up there, there's a lot of differences between 1st and 5th edition. Like, a lot. The series has evolved. The game system...
It's completely different, almost.
Yeah. So, it's much more of a challenge. And I'm really...
No dying.
Okay, there we go. I had to mute myself on screen. I was coughing way too much there.
Okay, you better?
I'm not dying at the moment. And the idea of like nautical themed adventures and putting these all together to form it is pretty cool too. It's I would love to see more themed groups of adventures like this. I guess that's the thing is, I think that's where you can come up with a lot of good uses out of it. And as they say, you could just throw these into your own adventure too. Like, you could be like, you could play them on as their own set, or like you could be like, oh, this
you could do them as like one shots, or hey, I need something to add into my game that's sea bait.
Yeah, it's like then you just throw one of these adventures in here pretty quickly and easily.
Yeah, I mean, you could be as simple as, okay, maybe they're traveling from the mainland to an island, and you want to have some kind of adventure plot hook in the middle there.
Yeah, definitely. And you could easily then throw something together here. So yeah, goes to Saltmarsh. I'm glad to have seen it been announced. I mean, again, it was like, it's not far off for coming out. It's not like they announced it like a month away at least, but still, I feel like this year at least they've been very close on their announcements for things. They're just not giving a huge amount of time. But anyway, the other thing that happened with 5th edition D&D that I did want to dive into is we had another unearthed arcana this week also. And
they completely redid Artificer.
Yeah, they've been this is, I think, the 3rd time they've tinkered with it.
Yeah, and it's a lot different compared to the first one.
Yeah.
Also, did you notice the format of the that they're doing looks lot more like it's right out of a book?
Yeah, they're definitely like trying to like reformat the way that they present this information too.
Because originally it was just like white back pages, very simple. Mm-hmm. And this one has like full artwork.
Oh, you must have found a different one than I did. I got the one from their page. Up on.
I don't know where I found it then.
I got the one that's up on English.
On English.
On Wizard site. They might have put out a different one than that one. Anyway.
Okay. I don't know. I must have clicked on the wrong thing, but that was weird.
It happens. And they could have something out there that they've released after this one or something that I'm missing. Or a different version of it too.
I'll put the link that I found.
Okay.
And you can take a peek at it, but yeah, I don't know. That's weird. Ding. Tries are done.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one looks like it's like they copied it out of a book.
But this is also different.
Okay.
So I think there's a third
I
party.
Was the wrong.
Yeah, it's like I think there's because this still has the mechanical servant.
Yeah.
So this might have been actually based on the original Artificer when they redid it, and they do give
a third party made of.
They do give some art credits and stuff like that, and maybe they talk to fewer people.
Okay, now I'm on the official one. Okay, and it looks more like the normal stuff.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I was curious there. I'm like, it looks kind of like an orange does. I mean, they talk about, like, I think they've settled a little more on spell casting and stuff, and like the specializations as the alchemist or artillerist, basically, like, and then infusions, some various interesting things. The alchemist, which actually has a homunculus now, that they kind of say, so that's kind of interesting that they kind of brought back a little bit of the mechanical servant, but made it like a alchemical homunculus.
That's cool.
And oh god, you create magic turrets as the artillerist.
God.
That's a little weird.
Arcane turret, yeah. 3rd level, you learn how to create a magical turret with your smith's tools in hand. You can take an action to magically summon a medium turret. Oh god, that's ridiculous.
It's got an AC, a number of hit points equal to 5 times your artificer level. It's got a bunch of immunities, and it basically does attacks depending on the type of...
Okay, the immunities I have to laugh at. Immune to poison. It's a turret.
Psychic damage and all conditions.
Yeah.
I mean, they do have to say it, because if they don't say it, but... You have to consider that, like...
That'd be like saying this sword is immune to poison.
Yes, but then the way they say it there, positive or negative energy would deal damage to it. Radiant energy would do damage to it.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so...
It's weird.
Well, yeah, radiant. But, so they have, like, a ballista format, a flamethrower format that does, like, a cone, the ballista which does an attack, or a defender, which apparently gives temporary hit points to people.
Emits a burst of positive energy that grants itself and each creature of your choice within 10 feet a number of temporary hit points equal to 1d8 plus your intelligence modifier. Oh god, it heals itself too, though.
Okay, you can only get 1 per long rest, though.
Yes.
And you
so
can
it's actually not even that great.
Well, you can expel spell slots, and you can only have 1 turret at a time, though.
Okay.
So that's the other thing. You can only have 1 at a time.
It's not like you can fill out a battlefield with a bunch of force turrets.
But you can be like, you could throw out like a defender turret with your free one, and then spend spell slots to summon another one. Oh god, and you can command it to explode. Do force damage. I like that. You can make it like a tiny bomb. It only goes 3d6, but that's hilarious. Oh god.
But it's also 3d6 force.
Yeah. There's not really a lot. Well, I mean, the force ballista is force damage, and that's kind of cool. Well, the thing is, it's also a turret. You can direct the turret to walk or climb up to 15 feet. It does move. It's like a little, like, robot turret you create. Wow. I mean, it's interesting, I'm gonna say that. It's a little weird, but it's interesting at least.
You can have wands.
Yeah, wand prototype.
You can, after a long rest, you can just touch a wand, a non-magical wand, and make it magical.
Yeah.
Hey, give me that stick over there. It's now a magical stick. Here you go.
Of course, they talk about some infusions and some new spells that go along with it. Well, only really arcane weapon is the new spell. Let's see here. You channel arcane energies, one simpler martial weapon you're holding, and choose one damage type. It does extra damage. Okay, that's pretty cool. You can make a weapon do some kind of elemental damage: acid, cold, fire, lightning, poison, or thunder. And you can use.
Oh, at 14th level, you get fortified position where you can summon a second turret for free.
Ooh. So you can have 2 turrets out at 14th level. Okay, yeah. And you can use both of them with 1 bonus action, which is pretty cool. No, I kind of like... I feel like the artillerist would have a lot of interesting strategies. It's basically a very interesting battlefield support, and I think you could build something very interesting with that. I'm definitely more interested in that than I was before, kind of thing, you know? And the homunculi is a little interesting thing, too, that you have. So you got, like, a little friend.
The many-handed pouch is weird.
Oh, for the, what is it, the infusions?
Yeah. You can create basically multiple pouches that all reach into the same extra-dimensional space.
It's a good way of sharing items between people.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's not good. It's just like, that's kind of cool. It's like almost having a bag of holding that everyone has on them but can reach into.
Yeah.
Instead of having to worry, who was carrying that potion? Oh, we're all carrying that potion.
Yeah. So I like the replicate magic item. Using this infusion, you replicate a particular magic item. You can learn this. So it's a little different than the way it was being done before. Like before, they could sort of create a magic item but this one there's replicate specific ones on the table using one of their artificer infusions. They do that though, and they specifically choose that. So yes, I could create a bag of holding or replicate a bag of holding as it, but that would be my item. I would specifically take my infusion to do that. And at 12th level and 16th level, you unlock some more really cool ones, you know, but you have to get to that level. So, no, I think I feel like they've done some good work to rebalance it maybe a little bit. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of interesting. Huh.
Do you want a returning weapon?
Yeah, I know. It's trying to figure out, like, your proficiency is doubled for any ability which uses proficiency with a tool. And the infuse items. Yeah, no. You get 3 infusions to learn. There's a bet on the chart. They tell you how many infusions you get. Okay, so you get up to 8 infusions. And you can have up to infusions known in up to 5 infused items at a time. So that is another thing, too. So it's kind of like spells, that you know a certain number, but you can only be using like that many, you know. So maybe I know 3 items, but how many am I going to be using at once? Well, 2 at 2nd level. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. Of course, I mean, at 2nd level, you could have
a bag of holding.
A bag of holding, which is pretty awesome at 2nd level.
Yes. It's like a bag of holding is one of those things that's super useful, not super powerful, and it always is in any game.
Unless you have a portable hole, too.
Yeah, well, yeah. Like Cloak of Manticabe, Cap of Water Breathing, Goggles of Night Lantern, Revealing Rope of Climbing, Sending Stones, Wand of Magic Detection, Wand of Secrets. These are all very useful, but they're not, like, overpowered. And definitely, like, I would feel like if you knew a few, you could have, like, I've got a Cap of Water Breathing and a Bag of Holding and Goggles of, and then, like, a Goggles of Night. So maybe normally I'd be using the Goggles of Night, but, like, I can then rest and be like, I keep my Bag of Holding and switch out to, like, my Cap of Water Breathing because, we're doing something aquatic.
Yeah.
So, I think that's very... Well, and that's the thing is, that's not the only infusions there are. Those are just the replicate magic item ones, which there's...
Right, you have your standard infusions, too.
Yeah, which they have a whole bunch of ones, like getting, like, you make your weapons magical, or your armor magical, for a bonus. Or the pouch we're talking about.
Right, or returning weapon.
Yeah, where you can just, like, chuck something at someone.
Hey, guess what? I got a returning arrow.
Well, it's got to have the thrown property. It specifically does. I know, but still.
Hey, you can throw an arrow.
Dart. Returning darts. Or like shurikens or something.
Oh god, returning shurikens. Ow!
You're the guy from Conan the Adventurer. Is it Zula? The guy with the shurikens that... Or no, that wasn't Zula. It was the chick that had the shurikens. Zula had the bolas.
How about returning bolas?
Yes.
That'd just be weird.
I guess if you miss, you could have them returned.
No, it captures the guy and you're just like, haha, now I have you.
Well, it's like, I don't think it has the strength to drag someone, so it's just like his legs are up in the air, like pointing at you. Like, this is awkward. I really kind of want them to come back to me, and he's like, no, my legs!
Your legs now belong to me, sir.
All your legs belong to us, unlike your bases. We didn't really want the bases, we wanted the legs. And they have an interesting selection of spells. It looks like they're taking on a little bit more, definitely, of that utility role, because they got some actual like mixture of wizard and cleric spells. They have Cure Wounds. You know,
they have really... Thorn Whip.
Yeah. Shield of Faith, False Life, like... I feel like...
Spare the Dying.
Yeah, they have like an interesting selection of spells, actually. Because it's like some of them that are definitely much more like wizard or sorcerer spells, and then a couple that are just like cleric. And I think that's a very interesting selection.
And they get ritual spell casting, it looks like, too, so...
Yeah, they do. So they get some ritual spells.
Nice.
That's really helpful, too. Like,
yeah,
you know,
or like identify or detect magic.
Or alarm, yeah. Or a couple other ones that are like really good to have as rituals. And I'm like, well, we can have them.
Hey, they have at third level, they get a Jesus ability. Water walk.
Yeah. Yep.
And water
and it's more like a cleric, because I think you know the entire list, it looks like. So that's cool. Neat. So, new artificer. I actually kind of like the direction they took with it. They kept a lot of the original stuff that they've done with the other versions of it, but I think they've definitely updated it very interestingly.
Yeah, no, it definitely looks good.
Mm-hmm.
And I love a good artificer.
Yes. So, they've done some good job. Good work, Wizards, on this one. I'll give it to you. All right, let's talk about a weird thing, because we got to talk about it. So this is
me.
No. Okay. So I'm gonna go out here and say, like, first off, we're gonna talk about Monopoly and Clue It. Now, I'm gonna say it for Monopoly. Sure, whatever. They do a lot of Monopolies, and
they reskin Monopoly all the time.
So, like, finding one this is a little more unusual than most Monopoly reskins, I've got to say. But it's Monopoly, and I never would kind of throw shade at it Monopoly, you know? I'm like, okay.
It's Monopoly.
Yeah.
But, I mean, after Catopoly and every other Opoly...
Yeah. They do
whatever, do another skin, that's fine.
Yeah, that's the thing about it. It's like just taking on another skin. It doesn't sound like they're doing anything crazy and different with the with that.
With the rules or anything. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now,
but Clue.
Well, the thing is, they've also announced a dice and card game, It Evil Below, which the thing is, they put it very tiny at the end of this announcement here on the company's page. And they've also mentioned, which I didn't even think about, that in 2020, along with Thatch release of It Chapter 2. I didn't know the date for that either. So that's really interesting information here. But no, let's focus on the Clue, though. Clue It. Yeah.
Why?
Because the thing is, they talk about it, that you're taking on the role of Bill and his friends as you attempt to determine Pennywise's plan. So travel to various houses and places in the town and avoid red balloons to try to get the killer's plan. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of stretches in this entire thing to make it more Clue. I feel like you could have done a It mystery game without calling it Clue, because as soon as you call it Clue, you come up with that entire thing of it being like, it's also less competitive, it's less cooperative. Then are they cooperative version of it too? It's like, I don't know, like, granted, okay, we've done cooperative Clue things like with Museum Caper, which was kind of awful, but it was like one versus the group, and that was kind of like a cooperative / semi-cooperative game. Like, I can mention Museum Caper because I had that, and there was awful amounts of it, and it was very not Clue. This seems very not Clue, also. You know? I just...
It, when you think Clue, you think the classic game. You don't think this, and I think it's strange that they're doing that.
Like our horror game as Clue, it's the horror can have some. No, great, like
I'm not saying you can't do Clue as a horror game.
No, and I
in
can't
the horror genre because it definitely can fit, but.
And I can't say that, like, well, I was going to say, then, like, it itself, the movie, I can see it had some mystery to it, like, when they're finding stuff out. And I'm sure, like, the movie and the miniseries didn't hit on that as much as probably the book hit on the entire mystery aspect of it, of them, like, investigating.
These are also supposed to be based off the new movie.
It's based more off the new movie, yes. So it does have a little bit of that mystery, but far less than, let's say, the original book did, definitely. And the fact is, they're like, it's not one house, which I think it's fine if you want to do like a Clue reskin where you're traveling locations. Fine.
Right.
You know, that's not a reskin I'm going to complain about. Now, the idea that there's like hazards and that maybe you're working together is kind of odd. And I'm like, how do you get that Clue aspect? Because Clue is not, like, the core of Clue is not a cooperative game, necessarily. You're all competing to find the answer. Plus,
right,
the answer was always a person, place, and thing. How are you replacing that to make it be, like, the supernatural, like, monsters' plans?
Right. It's very bizarre.
Fine. Yeah, it's a very bizarre thing, and the thing is, like, it's coming out this month, and I'm just curious as to how this would work. You know?
I mean, the only way it's going to be able to be cooperative would be you versus, like, the group versus the board, in a way.
Well, it's got, like, it's got looking at the product, it's got game board, 7 kid movers, 6 customized zinc weapons. What? 7 suspect personality cards, 22 rumor cards, 25 intrigue cards, and a custom scoring card envelope and rules. So they're going very Clue, it sounds like.
Yeah.
I don't know how much this works. I'm guessing the intrigue cards are going to be like because I've played a version of Clue that had like an extra set of cards. I can't remember. I think I have it somewhere. That was interesting. They did like a little extra thing that updated it to a little more modern stuff, which it wasn't bad. I mean, classic Clue I felt was a little better, just because it's a classic, and maybe that's what I grew up with, you know. But the newer version, yeah, nostalgia, and the newer version wasn't bad. It was fun. It was interesting. It had like a little like, I don't know if they were intrigue cards. I can't remember what they were called, but they were like an extra thing. But are the rumors, the locations, the personality suspect personality cards, the people, and the weapons, and like what are we? Okay, so taking the role of kids. Okay, so it's the idea of who Pennywise will abduct, what object he will use to lure him, and where he will take where he will take them from.
Right.
Dude, what? That doesn't feel very. It feels more mystery than horror. You know, that's like I could replace this with serial killer Jimmy B or whatever, you know, just or insert serial killer idea A, you know.
Right.
It's too much of a stretch. My brain is breaking. I think my brain broke. It's too much of a stretch. It's just like
it's very, 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 very odd.
Yeah. Again, the Monopoly one, that's fine. The Monopoly one is completely and utterly fine. I find nothing wrong with that. There's so many redone Monopoly skins, and I'm sure the cooperative dice and card game is probably more interesting and fits along the themes a lot better too, that they've announced. Evil Below, which they're going to give more information later on. It's just that, like, I guess the Monopoly one's coming out later, and the Clue one's coming out first. So the set of these they're starting out with is Clue. I would have started with the Monopoly, truthfully speaking, you know?
Yeah.
That's the easy one. But we're starting with the Clue whatever. Ugh. I think I do have to say, it's like, this is definitely a weird direction for a franchise. I really have to say.
Yeah, it's just bizarre.
I don't know. It was an unusual franchise to necessarily focus on anyway. Not that I don't think it is a terrible one to use, personally.
Well, and the thing that makes it weird to me, too, is you're going towards the classic kids game market. Or family game market, I should say.
That's true. That's very true. The fact is...
You're going horror in a family game market.
The thing is, they do put it at 17 plus, and 2 to 7 players, 60 minutes to play. So you're taking on a game that's very definitely more kid friendly and making it adult. I'm curious as to how they've got to have something else here that we can't see with just looking at the components.
See, to me, if you're going to do that, I would almost go nostalgia crazy then and go back to the original TV movie to base it off of.
That's true. I feel like even if they wanted to, I feel like they're taking a couple steps too far. Like, again, a 17 plus on a game that's definitely more kid friendly normal, how much it feels just by reading it that this is very original Clue. Granted, we're like, rather than talking about like who murdered Mr. Barty, it's more like this horrible monstrosity. Who will he take? How will he take them? And where will he take them?
Right.
I feel like maybe the subject matter more than anything is grabbing us that it's 17 plus. Yeah,
it's definitely the subject matter that's making it.
Because it's
more
darker. It's like much darker than the original Clue is. I think the original Clue, even so, is still like a little more adult. It's actually not like kids. It's maybe like 12 or 10 or something.
Yeah, but I'm saying family friendly, not necessarily little kid friendly.
Oh yeah, no, but no, definitely the original Clue is very family friendly. You have to wait till your kids are a little older, but I could sit down with a group of slightly older kids.
Yeah, like preteens.
Yeah.
Well, even Monopoly, you're not going to be playing that with a 5-year-old. They're not going to really get it.
Very true. Very, very, very true. Yeah, I don't know. There's definitely like a step back here from. No, I'm hiccuping. 8 plus was the ages. 8 plus on Clue. They're figuring by Clue you can at least understand like a murder mystery, enough that someone horribly died. That's still pretty goddamn young, and so it definitely has that family feel that you could have your 8-year-old playing with you in Clue, and now instead we've got I don't know. It's just such a it's just so it's interesting, but it's so like weird. And it's like it's interesting because it's too weird, I think. Rather than interesting like I would love to play this. Interesting about like how the hell would you play this?
Yeah, it is very strange.
Yeah, like well at least hey, 2 out of 3 products that they announced seem like they work. The dice and card game that's like a cooperative it game. That seems like it works. Monopoly 1. Again, it's Monopoly. Sure. That actually fits. It's Monopoly. Ha!
Yeah.
But Clue. Oh, God. I don't know. I'm gonna rack my brain over this too much if I keep going. So why don't we talk about something else?
It is bizarre. How bizarre? How bizarre?
It is so goddamn bizarre. Anyway,
but then we have Gloom.
Why don't we move on to Chiyo's Secret, because that's
I'm sorry.
It's fine. No, we got that in the Conan one. So why don't we take care of those first, and we'll talk about the other elephant in the room a little bit of. Now, I think we talked a little bit about Chiyo's Secret before, but it's finally out, and I want to kind of go over it again because it seems like a very interesting game, because it's sort of like there's kind of 4 groups, and I'm not sure how much you're going to take on it. It seems like both interesting, complex, and simple. You know, it hits that kind of stride. Because it's got, like, establishment boards, 8 of them, the Shogun board, tokens, rules, and 90 cards. And they say there's, like, 4 different groups, 4 different teams. And I'm wondering if, like, you could probably have games, because it's 5 to 8 players. You could probably have games that maybe don't involve certain teams, some that involve all the teams. I mean, I guess it is a high player game is the only thing about this game that I think makes it... I guess it doesn't feel party game-ish, which normally high player games are. And it's not like Resistance or something. It's interesting. It fills this weird niche for your crowd of people that you would have for something like Resistance. But it's a completely different game. It's much more strategy, investigation, even. Because it's sort of like your group's trying to find this group of people and, like, capture them or something, or help them out. And they're, like, you get to gather information and find out who they really are, like, who they're hiding as this group of patrons at a local establishment. So, yeah. And, like, apparently, like, you know, you have to ask questions to Tonoka, who is, like, a lone person on a group, who's apparently the son of these 2 fugitives. And he can lie only once per game, so you never know when he lies. Yeah. So...
No, it definitely looks interesting and different, you know, type of game in that genre.
And again, like, I feel like the setting of, like, feudal Japan and stuff it's fluff. Like, this type of game could have had a lot of different settings. I feel like you could have done, like, you know, maybe even, like, spies or something, or, you know, something else entirely, or some kind of weird star-crossed lovers somewhere else. But maybe, like, even, like, Renaissance. But the Japanese setting, it works fine. Feudal Japan.
Yeah.
The entire concept of, like, you know, 4 groups trying to figure out what to do with, you know, hidden fugitives is very interesting. So, star-crossed fugitive lovers. I mean, that's like a weird descriptive term. No. So definitely, like,
Bonnie and Clyde meets Romeo and Juliet?
Yeah, I guess so.
In Japan?
I really enjoy it more now that you've said that description. Your description improved it, like, by light years. I'm sorry, it did. You, like, as interesting as it sounded before, you're like, this is much more interesting descriptive. Here you go.
Bonnie and Clyde meets Romeo and Juliet in feudal Japan.
Oh yeah. So no, I mean, Chiyo's Secret, it's out now. You can check out the rules. They are up on Wizkids' website. And, yeah, I think, like, we kind of talked about this before, and, like, you know, it looks like you do have all 4 teams, the more players, the more allies you have, which I guess the allies... which group are the allies? God. Who seek to capture them and have them executed from their crimes. So I guess, yeah, that's the big group.
They're not allies.
I think they're allies of the.
Yeah, I know. I get it. It's when you just say allies, it makes it sound like allies of your people.
No, they're allies of like the authorities.
Your enemies. Just say enemies.
Yeah, usurpers who seek to lure the I guess Fusanabu, the guy, to the daimyo in a trap and seize power for themselves. The betrayers who seek to betray the daimyo and present them to the shogun instead, which I don't know if that saves them. I don't know. Ooh. And then there's
no matter what.
Oh yeah, they read about it. Daimyo's ally. Loyal to the Lord, you wish to expose and capture them and send them to execute for their crimes against the daimyo. Loyal to no one but yourself, the betrayers. You wish to take advantage of these tragic events. If you ambush and present Chiyo to the daimyo and the daimyo to the shogun, you can seize power for yourself. The usurper, a conspirator loyal to Fushiba's rival, you wish to lure the daimyo and Fushiba together to in establishment with the true assassin so that his rival and his master will seize power in the holding, or your Motonaka, who you're just their son, who wishes to script the daimyo and hide their parents until the shogun arrives to witness the daimyo's incompetence. Okay. Wow. Weird. There's a lot more to it than that, but, you know, we'll leave that to if you want to try playing it. It seems like an interesting one. Hey, let's move on, though, because we have a couple more to talk about. I want to talk about a little bit about the two new Conan books that were thrown out here, because I always found it like we had some interesting discussions on the Conan books before, and we kind of always laughed at them because it was like, you know, Conan the pirate and Conan the this, and it's like, for once, it's not Conan the blah, blah, blah.
Conan, the adult film star.
I mean, I don't know where I was going to go with that comment, and I thought about it for a second, and then I decided
like,
whatever I was going to say
let it go.
Was not good.
Just let it go.
I could also go off on a musical number for that one, and I'm not. There's a lot of things here. So the Nameless Cult one is interesting also because it dives a little bit more into like the deities of the Conan world. With like, you know, I always think of like Conan going like, "By Crom," and it's like, well, who the frick is Crom? And now they're going to talk about him a little bit too. Because
you don't know Crom? He's my best friend.
Okay, like major deities, minor deities. Potential foes and allies that deal with these deities, cult member archetypes, a lot of other things, lore about old ones, because apparently I think we talked about this before, how Lovecraft and Howard were buddies, so they like Howard incorporated some Lovecraftian stuff in there because he was friends with Lovecraft. And
incorporated the Howard the Duck themes.
That's only if you're friends with Marvel.
Okay. Well, hey, the original Howard the Duck had some Lovecraftian themes.
But Marvel's friends with everyone. But you being friends with Marvel is a different question entirely. Oh no, Marvel's not friends with everyone. They're not friends with DC. DC.
Well, they
were for a while. They are when it means a big stack of cash.
Yes.
Is your stack of cash big enough? Nope, we're not friends then. Ooh, they even have the Serpent God set. Can I have Serpent Men? You know, that we can bridge back to another dimension. And
nope, you
and
only
a wizard
get Serpent Women.
Oh, well, I guess it's fine. And a cruel wizard Rathamon. Anyway, so that's one of them, the Nameless Cults. The other one is Ancient Ruins and Cursed Cities, which, I mean, it's locations. It's locations. It's a book of locations, which is kind of interesting.
Locations?
Yes, it's ruins. I think it's like, as much as the other books were really weird and took things in a strange direction, I always felt, because it's like, Conan was totally this at one point in time in one of the books. Let's do a book on it. This is more like, hey, we're actually going to give you, like, practical stuff, like a deities book, a deities and cult book, if you want to use cults, and, like, a ruins book. Yeah, you're welcome. This is the other reason I want to talk about it, because these are, like, it's like when we talked about, like, their monster book for Conan, which it was, like, it's goddamn practical for once. It's again, it's practical. Man.
Practicality.
And apparently they've got like rules for, again, the Cthulhu stuff with Riley, the City of the Old Ones. I mean, yeah. And they're depicting
What about the City of the Young Ones?
Nah, no one likes that. That's those guys. Isn't that London?
Yes.
It took me a minute to remember that, but I'm like, wait a second. I can make a Young Ones joke. Yes. Yes. I win this day. Anyway, it's got like famous ruins from Conan's Adventures, which I don't remember at all because I never read that many Conan books. I remember the Conan movies and the Conan animated series and some other stuff with Conan, but not that many books. Got renowned treasures, traps, all kinds of interesting things. Powerful entities you might find in some of these places, and some like rules for making your own ruins, which is actually cool too, like ruin generating system, which having a generating system is always great, because whether you use it or not, it can be inspiration for something, and I think that's a really good thing to have in a lot of these books. Like, the fact is, I've used GM generation systems in like D&D and Pathfinder, and adapted them on my own after I've done them, because it's sort of like, what the heck am I going to come up with? Oh wait, here's some ideas. Bam. So, cool. Ruin generating system, I'm all down for that. And, you know, I think that's something that feels very Conan that they haven't talked about, exploring ancient ruins up until now. It's always been him like as a bandit or a pirate or a thief or a mercenary or something. And, you know, like when I think of like the movies or the animated series, there's a lot of ruin exploring there. I'm just saying. Kind of late on it. Glad to have it. But anyway, yeah, Conan books out now. You want to throw anything else in you?
No, I'm not as big into the Conan stuff, so
I just find it interesting. You know,
I know you do.
Yeah,
I applaud you for that. But
yeah. All right, let's move on to our last major topic, though. I want to talk about Gloom of Thrones. So, this is a very interesting one because I've played Gloom. I like Gloom a lot. I don't play as much anymore. Maybe that's something we can do on Sundays at the Tabletop sometime. Some Gloom. It's a fun one. Where you kind of come up with little stories and you're trying to make the most depressed family there is and have them all die. You know?
Mm-hmm.
And they do have a Kickstarter that's going to go live. They haven't said exactly when. And there's a standalone game, and it spreads the misery and suffering of Gloom to the ill-fated lands of dead monarchs, dead knights, dead brother. It's basically taking it to the, like, you know, I don't even know. I don't know if it actually is Game of Thrones or it's just based on Game of Thrones. Is the thing about it. They don't have enough information for me.
Yeah, they don't. It's just Gloom of Thrones.
And when they talk about it, the thing is, I don't know enough Game of Thrones to yell out, "Hey, you know, this is Game of Thrones." They do the same thing with normal Gloom, that you have a character and you put things on top of them. You know, and God.
I watched the first season of it. I just couldn't get into it enough. Personally.
Yeah, it wasn't the best for me. So pays with the lowest scoring most tragedy-afflicted family wins. Because there's negative things, and you can put positive things on your opponents. Negative things on your own. So, you know, and it's sort of like keep going until your character dies. And the first person, and I think you can still win even if all your family doesn't die, but the first person that gets all their family, basically game ends when someone gets all their family dead. That's the basics of Gloom. One person has their entire family dead, then you go through the scoring and just figure out, who had the most depressing family. And I think, the deaths give you bonus points anyway, so it's better to kill most of your family, or all of them. So I'm very interested just to take a look on how it actually works, and if it's a Game of Thrones inspired, or if it actually has some kind of license from it. I don't know with what it is. But it's so... I feel like it does fit because it's a very tragic kind of world, anyway. But it's also that thing of, I guess Game of Thrones is still really popular, and it fits kind of to have it now even. I don't know. Should you have waited, or, I don't know. Do you feel like from what we've seen of Game of Thrones, it's still really out there? And that this would be very good now. It's I think we've talked about some other franchises where they put it out a little late.
Isn't it coming back into another season or something?
It is, I think. That they were not going to have more seasons, and now they are going to have more seasons.
Yeah, I think it's still popular enough that it makes sense.
Yeah, true. But, would this have been better in, a previous time where it was more higher at its higher in its height of popularity? And... because we don't know if it is or not, would a parody work still if it's just a parody of Game of Thrones? I don't know. Rather than being licensed. Well, I guess we'll have to see more about it. I guess when the Kickstarter launches, we'll talk about it again and see what...
Yeah, once we get some more information.
Yeah. But Gloom of Thrones, keep an eye out for it. Kickstarter is coming soon. All right. Hey, we've gotten through our normal topics. Let's head on to our regular segments. I don't think we have anything really necessary for deeper discussion. We didn't try anything new or get any reviews in this week.
Not this week, no.
Unfortunately. So let's hit up our Kickstarter corner. Joe, do you have a Kickstarter for us today?
I was taking a peek at this one. Fight Your Friends.
I mean, don't mind if I do.
Okay, I'll slap you.
Well, you said bite your friends. And
no, not bite.
Oh,
fight.
Fight your friends. I saw you said...
Yeah, just bite your friends, This one is 45 days ago, has 115 backers, and is $4,310 out of its 5,000 goal.
So it's like 80, 90% almost.
Yeah, close to it, and still 45 days to go.
Okay.
So it's kind of a deck builder game.
Yeah.
That you're fighting an opponent with your cards. You get 30 gold to spend.
Mm-hmm.
Each card costs a certain gold amount to build your deck.
Okay.
And you're building a deck of 10.
All right.
Cards. And they have 3 different abilities. They have attack, magic, and defense.
Okay.
And you and your friend decide to put down one card, you flip them over, and compare. Okay. Whoever has the most winning numbers wins that round. Now it's out of 4 rounds, so each round you add another person to the battle.
Okay.
And there are cards, some cards give you bonuses for more active friends that you have and stuff like that. So, it could be like, oh, my numbers are way better than yours, but I get this bonus now because my guy survived that first battle.
Okay.
So it looks like an interesting but simple game.
It looks like it's very interesting because they're taking on a bunch of characters from indie comics. I haven't really heard of a lot of these personally, but I haven't been reading a lot of indie comics anyway. Like, it's most of these, I have not read any of them. It's more just like...
I just like the art style of this, too, that I was just like, ooh, this looks cool.
But because it does look like there's... I guess depends on the characters from the area, because it looks like there seems to be some mixture of styles, but I'm guessing it's like... Because they're taking on from different locations, that they'll have, like, a bunch of different styles and stuff, too. Because,
yeah.
You know, different characters. But that's one of those things, because it's like... indie comic styles, you definitely can have some very interesting styles and some really cool looking characters too. It looks like they got a bunch of stretch goals too. I mean, like, the fact is they probably could definitely get it very easily. They're pretty close to it.
Yeah, and they still have a lot more time. And the nice part is it's only $15 just for the game.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's pledged 15 or more, just the game. The complete Fight Your Friends core set of all 60 cards. Then, you know, from there it goes. Plus, you get the 3 Kickstarter variants for 20 for one of them, and
there's the early adoption where you get your name in the rulebook and autographed game box. So it's like
and that one's for 22, and there's 5 days left to go on that one if you want to try to get in, and 46 out of 100 sold.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, 46 left out of 100. Sorry.
Some double sets. For $40, you can also get a playmat. Let's see here. They got some other early adopters in there too.
Solo bundle. Get the full game and the cool playmat.
Interesting.
Yeah.
The retail editions too. Yep. Playgroup bundle. Collector solo with original art. That's an interesting one. And then you're in the game for $1,000.
Nice.
I mean, I feel like a good Kickstarter always has a crazy one like that someone somewhere might want to take it.
Hey, you never know. Someone might be like, I'm really into this and want that.
Yeah, exactly. So cool.
I mean, for the bang for your buck, I think if you do the earlier adopter for $20, and it's just a game with the variants earlier adopter, you get a lot out of that.
True. Cool. It's a very interesting one. So, Fight Your Friends. It's very neat. And I think like a full listing of all the... I guess they put down the most popular of all the comics and stuff. Characters and stuff, so that's kind of cool. Alright, so I did find one also that I want to show off. Let me get a link for it here. So, you know, I'm an old, wow. My brain just died there. I'm
an old wow.
Mystery fan of... what's her name? God damn it. The one who did Miss Marvel. And my brain is totally blanking out.
Yeah, I'm not thinking of it either.
Yeah. God. I am going to look that up. Agatha Christie. Oh my god, I couldn't remember why I couldn't remember Agatha Christie for a minute there. Brain died. Anyway. So, they're putting out an RPG, a streamlined mystery tabletop RPG, called Grey Cells. And it's got it does have, like, a very, like, you know, character that looks very Hercule Poirot. You know, I like Mystery in the Orient Express. I've seen all the versions of it. The originals, the first one is best. Sorry, modern versions. You're not bad, but you're not great. Anyway, so, it's funded. They got all their pledges. It's got 22 days to go, and it's another RPG. Yeah, for $3 Australian, which is about $2, you get PDFs of stuff. That's not a lot. You can receive a PDF copy of the playtest rules, as well as a PDF copy of the finished rules, and any supplemental materials met through stretch goals for $2. For $4, you can participate in some online playtests. You get their Discord community. 15, they got the printed copy, which they're going to be doing. Or I'm sorry, $11 American. And And they kind of go on buy on for a couple more things. But like for $11, you can get a printed copy of this.
Nice.
That's pretty cool. I mean, I'm sorry, for $2 having the PDF, that's not a huge thing to follow it. I mean...
No, not at all.
So, it's a RPG about unraveling mysteries. You know, that's what it's all about. You have kind of... Each character would have their own tools in order to get information from the world, make deductions. You can kind of gather information. Your characters might have abilities that give you bonuses to various kind of type of deductions you do and kind of evidences that you gather. And it's supposed to be emulating crime fiction, you know, so you can definitely do like a more Agatha Christie story with like Poirot or Miss Marple, or you could do hard-boiled detectives more with this, you know, definitely. I
definitely would prefer my detectives hard-boiled than soft-boiled.
Exactly. And apparently, like, there's already a villain that you're going to have, like, kind of like, I guess, the person behind the crimes that's already a step ahead of you, that has their own agenda, which, like, the game master's kind of going to follow along. And they have tools for game masters to make mysteries, which is really great, because it can be very difficult to make a mystery story. So they have, like, they have shortcuts to make it a lot easier for you to come up with a mystery. So great. 83 pages for the entire thing. They talk about the different genres, great detective, cozy, hard-boiled, police procedural, thriller, sex backgrounds for player characters, beat cop, crook, detective, reporter, scientist, socialite, special actions, rules for contacts that you might add as permanent characters to your game, various other special rules for different things. So, very cool. And they have a number of stretch goals that they're working on. Then they've already gotten the Roll20 functionality. So hey, it's going to work on Roll20. I think it's a big one nowadays. A case buddy supplement. So it will give examples of like some mystery things. The two examples that they talk about are, well, they're saying more of them, but Hound of the Baskervilles, so they're going to give an example on how to do that, and Silence of the Lambs, which is a very interesting one.
That's really cool.
They have a fantasy supplement and a sci-fi supplement that they've already funded to basically do like some sword and sorcery mysteries, which those are fun, or like a sci-fi like Cyberpunk or something, or Interstellar mystery. And they are not quite at the, let me see here, they might, this might be Australian dollars that their stretch goals are left out at. I'm unsure if it's Australian or American dollars, so they may or may not already have their Lovecraftian supplement too, and they haven't put any else out after that. So I thought this was an interesting little one that I thought was kind of neat, that I wanted to kind of point out here. So Gray Cells RPG up on Kickstarter. All right, let's move on, because we have a couple more regular segments to finish out today, and let's start with our week in tabletop. So, I think, Joe, why don't we start with last Saturday?
Oh, what the heck did we play last Saturday? Because it was just the three of us.
Mm-hmm. We kept it simple, didn't we? We did,
we just did some Flux.
Bang and Flux.
Oh, yeah, we did one game of that, yeah.
Was it High Noon Saloon?
No, High Noon Saloon and Flux, not Bang, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then a lot of Flux. But Flux is so random, and the Flux deck was just not happy with you until that last game.
No, God, no.
Yeah. It's like every time you're on the cusp of winning, one of us would get it first. It was like, well, the Flux deck is just being a jerk today. And then on Sunday, we did Resistance and tried out Werewolf. One Night Werewolf we tried. And, like, Resistance was fun, but I feel like maybe a few extra players on that one. Like, those games need a lot of players. A lot of players, unfortunately. Like, those really, like, social deduction games. I think we probably could have found a social deduction game that would have been better, but I was unaware of any at the top of my head that I could have picked out other than those. It wasn't bad. I had Legacies of Kain this week, where the group is reeling over the fact that one of their team members has been kidnapped, apparently, or disappeared. And they looked into it. It's the player that can't join for a while in the foreseeable future because he's now currently living in a place with very terrible internet. Oops. Had to move. Can't really help it. He'll hopefully return. Maybe. We don't know. So, the character is missing. Maybe. We don't know. And they made plans to travel to India in order to continue their chase after this mythical, like, magic... I guess best way to describe it is supernatural sword. And then we didn't have Madness of the Land, but we had some meetings and talked about Madness of the Land, and I want to let people know that the stream is going to take a little bit of a streamline, different directions, probably a little less side story stuff. The options will still exist, but it'll be sort of like more information laid out and mentioned that if you guys want to like follow through with, I'll try to have some stuff that'll be interesting there that'll pertain to the main story and things like that. Awesome. Right. But a little more streamlined, getting back to some better characters and things like that, and all that kind of stuff. That the Rufus one-shot, as we'll call it, will finish up at the beginning of next time we play and lead into more excitement. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Rufus will retire into the ether.
Yep. Consultant. Well, he'll be around.
Well, you know what I mean.
Yeah. Consultant.
He'll retire.
Hey, if you guys have something you want to ask us, go ahead and throw it out in chat. Throw it out in the description of the YouTube. Once I post up on the YouTube channel. Twitter.
Tweet us.
Either of our Twitters.
Yes.
Mine's linked below. Joe's I've linked. He's at. It's right below his name on the thing, so that's easy to, tweet him. My Discord. Contact me on my Discord. If it's something that we feel like is more appropriate to answer on stream rather than just like give you a quick answer for it, we'll do it here. Just let us know. It's for Consult the Table, directly. Yeah. If it's something that I feel like it's probably just better that we can answer it right off the bat, we will. If it's something simple and not, but if it's something that, us talking about it here a little bit can help you out, drop us a line. Anything related to tabletop, RPGs, CCGs, card games, board games, anything kind of nerdy or pop culture, we got a lot of that in us too, or anything else in general that you think we could probably help you with our seeming expertise, go ahead and ask us. But
we're here to answer.
Yep. But I think that's it for today. I think it's another good show. We got a lot of cool stuff to talk about. Thanks once again for Joe always being there and hanging out with me for the show.
Always happy to be here.
Yep. We'll be back tomorrow. Both of us should be here for Sundays at the Tabletop. We're on schedule for that. I think I'm streaming tomorrow morning. I'm not sure exactly. I have something in the afternoon, so I'm not sure of my exact streaming schedule. And someone asked me for possible help, but I don't even know if I can give it to them. A friend of mine's, because of the afternoon schedule. So, yeah, my schedule's up in the air tomorrow. But
weather.
And the weather tomorrow, too. Well, I think the wedding shower that I'm supposed to take pictures of for my cousin, I'm not able to get out of that, even though there's bad weather. I think that's something of like, when people ask like, hey, can you take pictures of this big event, Yeah. Anyway.
No, go away.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.